So if you listen to this podcast or any of the stuff that I talk about on any of the different channels, you'll know that it drives me bananas when people expect that there's some sort of hack or some sort of system or something that will get you ahead. And I want to talk about that because I do get sort of requests where somebody is asking that they want some sort of hack to get to some place because they sort of seen that I got to some place, and whatever that means. I don't even know what the hell that means, by the way. But it drives me bananas because the only way that you're going to learn how to do it is if you actually do it yourself. And I think about this as like, wait, so you want me to do the work for you so that you don't have to do the work and figure out what's going to go on and go through all of the pain and suffering that you go through. But it's not necessarily like, hey, I'm not trying to be clearly I want to do mentorship. Clearly I want to help other people. But what you need to do and go through is that hard work, that sort of painful stuff that you go through where you build things, you go through and you realize, like, you know what? Nobody's coming to the rescue. You have to do it yourself. You have to get that feeling of, I'm going to do this. There's no system or anything like that. And it drives me nuts when there's this expectation that people think that there is some sort of system or quick way, or that there is a sort of secret thing that is going on. And ultimately, it's just going through the motions repeatedly until you kind of figure out what is going on and what is the real story. And you can't get that unless you actually put in the work. So I'm going to sit down and go through this, and then you're going to go and figure out how to get this sooner. No, you actually have to put in the work. I had this statistics professor who was actually really quite good. And he had a policy that he would not help you out unless you actually tried how to do it, to try to figure out how to do it. You got stuck at a particular stage. And I think that's actually what you need to do and to think about is, you got to figure this out yourself. And it is a pain. And there is a lot of suffering. But nobody is going to do it for you. And on top of that, part of what actually goes on, and part of the process, or part of why you become a success, whatever that is because you have this story behind you that it did not come easy. There was no single one little hacky thing, which, I do think that does happen to some people, but it's not sustainable, right? They get their hacky thing and then they're done. They're sort of out of the game, right? You have to be that person that is going to be relentless and go through this time and time again and figure it out on your own. Right? Like, ultimately, that's what it comes down to, is that if you want to do anything of importance, you have to go through these struggles. And I don't think anybody should really be giving you some sort of, I've really changed on this in terms of what it actually means, because I think that suffering is actually a really important part of it. And there is not enough recognition of it, right? Like, people don't see it. And so you need to go through it to realize and to appreciate just how kind of painful it actually is. Because there isn't that many people that do anything that's of importance. And you need to figure out what that actually means. Right? So any sort of hack or anything like that, you have to realize it does exist. I think there are people that hack their way. But at the same time, that we could eventually see through it. We know what's going on. We know the story behind it. And so you can cheat and hack and sort of get to a certain place and fool a bunch of people. But those are not the people that will resonate with what you're actually doing. Right? And they won't see what you're actually doing because they're not going to appreciate it. Right? They're not going to appreciate anything that you're doing because they don't understand just how painful it actually is to get there. So I want you to really realize this, is that part of getting to where you want to go to and going through, part of getting to a certain moment is going through the pain of not being recognized, being completely misunderstood, nobody believing in you, going through those moments where you completely lose yourself. That's the important part. Now, if somebody has done that and still needs help, that they've still worked at something and they still need help, I think people should help them out, right? But you have to make that concerted effort. You actually have to try. You have to get back up, and you have to do this repeatedly. There is no system. There's no hack. There's no secret thing that you need to do that all of a sudden everything is going to change. It requires you to relentlessly keep going and try over and over and over again, and have a whole bunch of people completely discount you for a long time, right? For a very long time. And they may never, ever appreciate what you're actually doing, but that's okay. And that's where you develop that quiet confidence inside, where you take steps forward and you just do your thing. And it requires this unbelievable amount of gumption, amount of determination, where you're like, no, I don't need what these other people are selling or doing or whatever. I'm just going to go and do this myself, and I'm going to actually make this thing happen. And yes, I have a feeling like I don't know what I'm doing, and it's not going to feel good, and all of those emotions, but I'm going to make it happen. I want you to really think about that. There is no system or thing. You can't watch a bunch of YouTube videos to make something happen. You need to get out and do it. You need to actually go through all of the hard work of getting there and pushing through it and repeatedly doing it over and over and over again. And now if you do that and you need a little bit of coaching or help or mentoring or whatever, there's lots of people that will help you out. But until you get there, until you actually do that, nobody cares. And you have to be okay with that. All right. Take care and have a wonderful day.